physical plane. We are the best idea that Spirit had for earth at the moment of our inception. And God has never been disappointed or discouraged with us for a second, not even for a moment. Because for God to be discouraged, disappointed in any of us would mean that it was disappointed in itself. And that's an impossibility. Spirit is awed by you, forever supporting us to know something better for ourselves. That we're here to live in love, joy, and happiness, prosperity, that we're here to have purpose and meaning. And Spirit is forever sending us ideas and signals that these things are possible, and that it wants to be in co-creation with us, that we're not alone, we're not abandoned, that we have all the possibilities and potentialities of the universe running through us, and it's ours to say yes to. And we're the only ones that can do that. No one can force our good upon us. Not even God itself will force our good upon us. So our goal then is to tune out what the world is saying about us and to listen to that voice of Spirit, which is forever whispering to us to rise up and spread our wings and fly to our highest inspiration. Now, of course, it's easy to listen to the world. You can be going about your own business and the world will decide that you need to hear its opinions. So we have to keep our guard up about that and not argue with it. You don't have to get in any kind of argument at all. Just know the truth for ourselves. The other day I had finished up at the gym I'm going to. I've started a new gym, and when I get through the hour class, I'm just totally drenched in sweat and really drained. They make you wear these heart monitors. They say to count so you can be sure of the calories that you're burning. I wear it just to make sure the heart is still going. I'm always kind of reassured by that. So as I'm leaving the class, there's about 40 of us, and I'm leaving the class, there's a guy about my same age, maybe a little bit older, and as I'm walking out of the building, he punches me on my shoulder. I guess it's a guy sort of thing to do at the gym. A handshake would have been okay, but he punches me on my shoulder, and he looks at me and he says, "Well, it's good to see that us old cusses can still keep up." Well, that wasn't quite what I was going for when I woke up and dressed myself that morning. But, it didn't bother me any. It didn't bother me any because I don't identify with being an old cuss. I mean, he could have called me a purple people eater, and it wouldn't have bothered me any. Now, I know by knowing the term purple people eater, I'm pretty much identifying myself as old cuss. But that's a different story altogether. Now, the only thing that bothered me is that he would say it about himself. That's the only thing that bothered me. Now, if I hadn't have been about 2 minutes away from fainting or throwing up, I would have tried to talk him out of it. I would have told him, now, you've just been through an hour of this really strenuous workout. Why would you say that about yourself? It makes all the sense as if you'd gone through that huge workout and then gone and got a Three Musketeers bar and Coca-Cola. Why would you have spent time and really a lot of effort improving yourself and then inputting into your consciousness something that negates all the hard work that you've done? Why wouldn't you praise yourself? Give yourself some encouragement. When I walk out of the class, I think to myself, well, I'm not as young as most of them in that class, but guess what? I finished it with them. I'm with the group. I'm in the class, yeah. Yeah. I'm feeling good. I'm looking good. I may have to go lay down, but but that's okay. Now, here's the funny thing. I had seen him for a good while, but since we had that kind of interaction, I haven't seen him back. Now, my smart alecky friends in Atlanta that I mentioned this to, they asked me, they said, Ken, do we need to go search the swamps around St. Augustine looking for him? And no bodily harm done to anybody. But I do wonder if his identification with being the old cuss might have kept him from having the energy to be back in the class, go back in there. And also his identification, maybe he's trying to prove something to himself or to one of the coaches there, and maybe overexerted himself and hurt himself. And that he didn't need to do that. He didn't need to put himself out there. Since I don't have that negativity imposed on myself, I don't feel any need to prove to anyone what I'm doing. You know, in the class, they have all these little cute names for these exercises they want you to do. The backflip burpee. And they will show this to you, and I will tell them, I'm not doing that. I am not doing that. I'm not trying to impress any of the young coaches, because after all, I'm paying their salary. You know, as Aretha would say, who's zooming who? I'm supporting them. Now, they're very nice. They're very well trained, the coaches over there, because they're very encouraging, and they will try to help you figure out what you do. And I'll look at the exercise and I'll say, well, I can't do that, but maybe I can do this. And then they'll try to say, well, try this. And I'll say, finally tell them, you get me a rope and pulley, and I maybe can do that. But this is the variation I'm going to do. And then they leave me alone. Well, because, you know, people are beginning to go missing around me, so they give me a little wide berth. So we want to move out into the world, knowing we are the glory of God made manifest. You are the glory of God made manifest. And we want to put that out there, and we want to start living from it. We want to move into the world knowing that we have the keys of the kingdom of heaven in our pocket. That's what you want to do. That key might say Ford Escort on it, but you say to yourself, no, that's the keys to the kingdom of heaven. And I know where I'm going. I know how I'm living from it. I'm walking from it. I'm living from it. I'm seeing it for myself. And I won't be turned around. I won't be talked out of it. And just because the world might be persuaded differently, I won't be. I'm going to live for my power, and I'm going to live for my truth. You know, one of the great blessings about St. Augustine is we have such wonderful beauty and awe around us. And so if you're feeling a little down, if you feel like you don't have that much power, if you're feeling a little discouraged, take yourself over to the beach one morning and sit yourself down and watch that sunrise come up over the water. And you say to yourself, that which has created this has created me. And it has created me with just as much power, just as much wonder, just as much majesty. And now I am proclaiming it for myself. I'm knowing it for myself. And I'm moving out in the world with that. And when you start walking and living from that attitude, things will start happening. In Scripture, it says the lilies, look at the lilies of the field in all their splendor. And it says even Solomon in all his greatness couldn't compare to the lilies of the field. Now, that is true, but there's one thing that Solomon had that the lilies didn't have. He was crowned with consciousness. He was crowned with a mind, a choice. See, a lily is going to be a lily. It can be a spectacular lily, but it's not going to wake up one day and say, you know, today I think I'll be a sunflower. It's only going to be a lily. We can change our mind. We can change our consciousness. We can know for ourselves how powerful and wonderful we are. We can say to ourselves, I feel the vibrancy of life flowing through me. And I know I'm whole, perfect, and complete, just as I am. Not when I lose 10 pounds, not when I'm in the relationship, not when I'm out of the relationship, not when I get the job, not when I retire, but right here and now. All the power and glory of Spirit flows through me, calling my soul on to rejoice, to know that I am truly free, that God is the source and substance of my supply, and I am guided, inspired, encouraged, and blessed in every moment. I step forth in freedom to create my good, to express my joy, to promote harmony, and live in love. And you don't have to wait for the world to agree with you. Reach for the best and highest ideal you have for yourself, and then imprint that in your mind with your words and your imagery. And when you start doing that, start supporting it for as many people around you as you can. Help yourself, help people that you know, and then reach out a little bit further and help those a little bit beyond your reach. In the Jewish tradition, there's this wonderful idea that you give charity to someone that you don't know, and they don't know it's come from you. So almost like a double blind situation. You don't know where it's gone, and they don't know where it's coming from. And we want to do that as much as we can. So right now, in my life, I'm doing what I can to, for my life. I'm eating healthy, I'm exercising, I have a creative project that I'm working on, and then I make it my business to send little reminders and encouragement to a whole group of people I have in my life. I have my little nephew who's 6 years old, and I try to send him a card or something special every couple of weeks. My prayer partner is moving through a cancer challenge, so I make sure that I send her something every once in a while. And of course, now we've got Reverend Elizabeth, and we've got Sloan, and we've got Max, all beginning a new chapter of their lives. And it will be so helpful to them and so healing for us, and not even healing. It will open up such a channel of blessings and energy in our lives if we encourage them. And if you don't have time to call them or text them or send them a postcard, do your work in consciousness. Spend a little time in the morning seeing them move forward in their lives in a bold and new and loving and joyful way. And by doing so, you'll open up such an avenue of blessings for yourself. So we want to step out further and see what good we can do. You take one step, God will take 10 steps. This past week, I got a note from my friend, Swamini Radhakananda. She's head of the Hindu community here in St. Augustine, or one of the branches of the Hindu community here. And you'd be surprised, actually, we have a large Hindu community in this area. And she spent many years working on creating a retreat out in the rural area of St. Johns County. And her neighbors started realizing that she didn't look like them, and they started noticing cars coming and going. She had never planned for this resort to be a lot of people. The most she ever had planned was 15 to 20 people. But her neighbors, seeing that she wasn't looked like them, decided that she was a terrorist. Here's a little lady who's so nonviolent that she won't eat chicken, but they're thinking she's building bombs to blow up the Walmart. So they got to the county and they said, we want her stopped. She had worked on this thing for many, many years, and they don't want people to come learn meditation there or to come learn prayer work there. And so the county stepped in and stopped it. And so now she can't teach classes there. So she called me up, and we were talking, and I said, I call her Roddy because Radhakananda, that really takes you've got to go for a running leap to get that all out. And I was like, Roddy, you can come here. I said, if you want to teach classes, we've got space. You can teach classes here. And she's so sweet. She was like, well, it won't cause you trouble. I was like, Roddy, I'm big enough. If trouble comes, they will start finding people in the swamp. You come and teach your classes. We'll support you. And by doing that, like I said, we're unleashing a love and an energy and a healing. And who knows, it can even change the hearts of her neighbors. We can't give up on a single soul. A little bit of light can shed the darkness for miles around. Now, people will say, well, Reverend Ken, that's a lot of work. And I'll tell you, of course it is. Of course it's a lot of work. But it will leave you energized. It's not draining. It's empowering. It's invigorating. You start being the glory of Spirit made manifest, and you'll get the energy. You'll get the strength. You'll find the opportunity and resources. Sitting at home watching Vanna White turn letters on TV, and what will you get? Another day more boring and deeper in stress. You'll get more aches and pains. You'll attract another reason why you can't make a difference in your life or the world. And guess what? You'll attract a whole community of people that'll confirm that for you, will enforce that for you. Just remind you, oh, well, don't worry about that. Watch Vanna again tomorrow. She might have a better idea about you. But that's not the life you have come to live. That's not the life that Spirit had in mind for you when it called you by name from stardust, when it set your feet here on the grounds of St. Augustine. You have a different life. The other morning, I was out walking Sadie in the neighborhood, and this elderly gentleman came out of his house, and he had the little Australian floppy hat on. He had shorts, and he had high white socks on, the orthopedic kind. And he was pushing what I thought was his wife, and she was in a wheelchair. And he had an umbrella so that the sun wouldn't bother her. And the whole time he was pushing her, I could hear him talking, but I heard no replies. And I thought to myself, he's keeping her company. She may not be able to reply, but he's keeping her company. And I thought, well, yes, he's the age that somebody might call him old cuss, but he's no old cuss at all, and he never will be. He's the power of love bursting through by means of a giving heart. He is the joy of life, the compassion of Spirit. He's the glory of God made manifest before my eyes. And he's the wonder of the universe, pushing a wheelchair in St. Augustine. This is Spirit made manifest. The world may see one thing about him, but God knows another. So this morning, I encourage you to get out there in the world and start proclaiming yourself as the glory of God, with good and perfect and powerful work to do. And don't worry about your aches and pains. Don't worry about what the world says about you. You keep moving on from one achievement to another, one goal to another. Spirit yearns to share itself with you. Don't keep Spirit waiting. God itself will be calling on you, urging you on, inspiring you, knowing for that you to have greater heights to reach, miracle to miracle, joy to joy, and glory to glory. This is the truth in your life this morning. It's the truth in mine, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.